So it is a chill day for all of us who have been paying attention to the 2026 Milano Cortina Winter Olympic Games men's ice hockey tournament. That's a mouthful, isn't it? And so, because we have ourselves a little bit of a break, let's use this as an opportunity to dive into some of the extra stories and some other talking points revolving around the players and revolving around the teams. So stick around. We're going to be talking about Draisaitl. We're talking about Matthew Tkachuk. We're going to be diving into Nick Suzuki and whether or not Team Canada is actually using him properly and whether or not Montreal Canadiens fans have the right to be upset. It's all coming up here and more, but let's recap actually where everything started yesterday. Yesterday, we saw Team Germany get defeated by Team USA in a 5-1 domineering victory. Now, there were a number of storylines from this hockey contest. The fact that Auston Matthews got 2 goals, the fact that JT Miller is still nowhere to be found, and the fact that Timmy Stu was able to get the only German marker on the night. Timmy Stu assisted by JJ Peterka. This was the late game yesterday on the 15th, and so I think a lot of us who had been up late watching some of the earlier games were kind of exhausted by the Canada and France game. And I know for me personally, I was like, yeah, okay, Canada beat France 10-2 or whatever it was. I'm just going to make a video about that I'm going to pass out. Like, USA is going to beat Germany, and that's probably going to be the expected result, and then we can just move on. But we did have ourselves a very few notable conversation points from this contest. Not the fact that Auston Matthews scored twice, but a conversation between Leon Draisaitl and Matthew Tkachuk. You see, Matthew Tkachuk, absolute noted trash talker. Maybe not as good as his brother Brady, but he is a physical menace, and he is a guy who is definitely not going to let you go unscathed. But the biggest, most notable moment between Matthew Tkachuk and Leon Draisaitl thus far has been in the Stanley Cup Finals of the past 2 years. You see, we all know the story. Edmonton has played off against Florida year after year, 2024, 2025. Florida got the better of the Oilers both seasons. Leon Draisaitl was a 100-point scorer in both of those years, and he was a 30-point scorer in both of those playoff runs. Meanwhile, Matthew Tkachuk, while it's true he has not really been available for the Florida Panthers as much as he probably would have liked to, was still a consistent 20-point-plus guy in both of those runs to the Cup, on top of being an over-point-per-game player in the regular season. This year, he's only got 8 points in only 10 games played, so Matthew Tkachuk getting healthy at the right time, just before the Olympics, obviously that is ideal for him. He's got 5 points in 3 Olympic games so far for a stacked American team. Meanwhile, Draisaitl has 3 points in 3 games for Team Germany. The fact is, though, Matthew Tkachuk has had Leon's number the past 2 years, especially in the Stanley Cup Finals, which is why, when you see the commentary made by Matthew Tkachuk to Leon in yesterday's game, you really understand how savage it was. Matthew Tkachuk says to Leon Draisaitl, "You cost all your teams." Take a look at the video replay. Tkachuk tells Leon Draisaitl, "You're always the bridesmaid, Leon. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride." That is an absolute banger of a chirp. You want to talk about Team Sweden calling out Team Canada for double touching the rocks. You want to talk about some of the biggest, nastiest mouths at the Olympic Games so far. You've got Matthew and Brady, 2 friends of Elmo, literally Elmo, the Sesame Street character, going out there and mouthing off to Team Germany and Leon Draisaitl. Always the bridesmaid, never the bride. If you would have been a little bit better, you might have had the chance. And the funny part is, I think everybody knows that when Matthew Tkachuk tells Leon Draisaitl, you cost all your teams, they obviously know that he's not being 100% truthful with that. They understand that Matthew Tkachuk is not an idiot. I mean, okay, he's a Tkachuk. Say what you want about that. But Matthew Tkachuk obviously knows that Leon Draisaitl is one of the most talented players in the National Hockey League, and he's gonna acknowledge that if you were to ask him about it. Like, hey, how good is Leon Draisaitl? He'll say, yeah, he's amazing. But in the moment, trying to get under the guy's skin, trying to take any sort of mental, psychological advantage that you can, this is what you gotta do. I mean, I'm not going to go out there and say that I do this. When I played beer league hockey, I really just only talked to my teammates. But it is the Tkachuks to go out there and really cause a ruckus with some of these other teams. Probably the nastiest chirp you would have seen all Olympics here. Matthew to Leon, always the bridesmaid, never the bride, always coming in second place. Leon Draisaitl then went up to line Matthew Tkachuk up for a hit, but Tkachuk turtled. So Draisaitl just laughed in his face afterwards. So it's all good fun, I guess. These guys, I don't know if they like each other. They probably don't. They're on rival teams. Leon, though, ultimately getting the last laugh in the face of Matthew Tkachuk. With that said, this entire thing, while it is funny and while it is interesting to talk about, I don't think it's like beefy enough to deserve its own entire video. So let's shift gears a little bit and start talking about another story with the Olympics and the athletes going on. Let's talk about Nick Suzuki of Team Canada and the Montreal Canadiens. Hard segue, I know, but just bear with me here. Nick Suzuki was a pretty good addition to this Canadian squad. Over point per game guy for Montreal. He's the captain of the team, but he's only got 1 goal in 3 games so far for Team Canada. Now that doesn't really matter. Team Canada has been scoring like crazy, so they're still winning games. But the fact is, you could very well say that Nick Suzuki is one of these players that isn't really being utilized all too well in this tournament. Take a look at a tweet made by Kevin Papetti yesterday. Nick Suzuki is a good shutdown center, but he's not supposed to be shutting down McKinnon. Top Reply goes out there and says that Suzuki has never played wing in his career. It's not working because it's not his position. I don't understand why they took Suzuki just to play him on the wing. Bedard would be a match made in heaven on this line. And I guess the reason they did that is because they have Crosby, McKinnon, and McDavid. Yeah, sorry, Nick Suzuki as a 4th C is fine, but you still have Bo Horvat in that conversation as well, not to mention Macklin Celebrini. You then had this post made on the Arhab subreddit by O Psyduck. I didn't watch the game, Canada versus France. How was Nick Suzuki during the match, and how has he been playing overall? To no surprise of everyone, people on social media are calling him bad. Let's play fair to them. Suzuki can be an offensive black hole sometimes, so I can see why people feel that way. Top Reply says that he is being misused. He should center his own line with wingers able to forecheck hard so he can be the one making plays. He does not have the foot speed to hang on with McKinnon at 5-on-5. Defensively, Suzuki has been more than fine. I think he'll shine more in bigger games against better, deeper teams where his shutdown ability will be more valuable. The thing is, he is not a top forward on Team Canada, so I much prefer that McKinnon, McCrosby, McDavid, Celebrini get the priority in role and position. It's Suzuki's job to adapt and play the role he's given. If he's required to play wing, he needs to perform on the wing, or else Canada will pick a true winger in his place next time. I do think he's been good in his role, solid on defense, and he can show some offense. To your point, then why isn't Horvat playing the wing instead of centering his line? Because Bo is the 4th-line center. That's his role. The coach sees Suzuki as an offensive player, so they put him with offensive players, but he will never get the center spot in place of Nathan McKinnon. And I love what Belial Habs says. There's no 4th line on this Canadiens team. This is not your typical NHL roster. Suzuki is a clutch-type player. His defensive skills is what's needed come USA and all these big teams. Most people are forgetting about defense and only seeing offense. And then there's another reply that says, hey, he looks a bit lost on the wing. So Nick Suzuki going through a pretty difficult time, I would say, in regards to his Olympic deployment and line matchups. He should excel against better competition when given a shutdown role in a true defensively responsible position, but I guess we'll wait and see whether or not the winger position is a fit here for Nick Suzuki. We'll see as the tournament continues into the actual elimination phase how that fares. There are a maximum of 3 games left for Team Canada, so that's all that Nick Suzuki needs and is going to get to showcase himself off in a valuable 4th-line spot. Then again, though, he's not McDavid, he's not McKinnon, he's not Crosby. They don't need him to be that, but I think Canadiens fans would like to see more out of him. So with that said, thoughts in the comments section about Matthew Tkachuk's vicious chirp on Leon Draisaitl, thoughts on Nick Suzuki and his deployment at the Olympics. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.